3 OR-2025-0024, ordinance amendment of the New Haven Board of Alders adopting the SGA State Statute, Chapter 420-Regulation 420H, Regulation of Adult Use Cannabis, Section 21A-420C, license required for sale, offering, or delivery of cannabis, penalties enforcement, powers of the Commissioner, Attorney General, and municipalities. Per order, Honorable Richard Furlow, Chair, attest Honorable Michael Smart, City Town Clerk. These items are on file, available in the Office of Legislative Services, City Hall, 165 Church Street, second floor, New Haven, Connecticut, 06510. For accessibility related accommodations, please call 203-946-7651 voice or 203-946-8582 TTY. Public comment and/or testimony may be submitted via email to publictestimony@newhavenct.gov before 2 p.m. on the day of the meeting. This meeting may be viewed on the New Haven Board of Alders YouTube page. Again, thank you for being here this evening. I will ask the committee members to introduce themselves, starting from my right.
Thank you. Kevin Rodriguez, Ward 6.
Adam Marchand, Ward 25.
Good evening, Mr. Chair. Evelyn Rodriguez, Ward 4.
Good evening to all. Once again, my name is Richard Furlow, Chair of the committee. We will call the petitioners of the first item. If you will come forward. Once you're settled, if you would, good evening, if you give us your name and address for the record once you're seated.
Sure.
Do you have things to give to us?
Can start speaking while he's setting up.
Yes.
Attorney Ben Tracton, 679 State Street, New Haven, Connecticut, 06541. Good evening, Chair Furlow, members of the committee. This is an application for a zone change for map amendment 1439, 1445 Quinnipiac Avenue. It's approximately 6.2 acres of property, currently zoned RS2, which is a general single-family zone, and hope to change the zoning designation to the RM1 zoning, which will allow development of approximately 70 units, with all affordable units between 30 and 80% AMI, area median income. Our application for this map amendment has been through the City Plan Commission. Received a favorable recommendation from the City Plan Commission. I think it was November or December. And is consistent with the zoning ordinance, consistent with the charter, and most importantly, consistent with the comprehensive plan of development as adopted in Vision 2034. And we hope that you approve or give a favorable recommendation for the full board this evening.
Hello, how are you? Robert Letskis, Refine Living. I'm the applicant as well.
You give us your address for the record and the floor.
Yep. So my home address is 32 Hathaway Lane, Madison, Connecticut.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
What do you have for us?
So we have two properties side by side, which were purchased. They are combined of 6.36 acres. Many of the site is not developable. We have a large hill in the back, but we're able to get some flat area and produce a 7-unit development. The units will be a mix of 51 bedroom units. It's 22 bedroom units, all 100% affordable, 15 units at a 50% AMI. This is our unit matrix, subject to final discussion, but this is what we've presented. 42 units at 60% AMI and 14 units at between 60 and 70% AMI. We've received multiple letters of recommendation and support for the development, and pretty excited to do it. And that's this is the renderings right here. This is, the overall site would look like. Pretty much, the hill in the back would be, potentially donate that to the bird sanctuary, which is right next door with Bishopwood School, if they wanted it. We wouldn't want to impact the size of the acreage needed for the 7 units, but this is what it would look like, and then this is, I have another easel, but, to save time, I figured I would just put it up here like this. And I can show everyone else in the room as well. This would be the other area of the development here with some common seating and common amenities as well.
So these properties were previously approved, I think about 15 years ago, for a much smaller 7 or 8 unit development known as Danko Way that never received financing. It never 10
homes.
10 homes, single family. It was never built for economic reasons, and property's been listed pretty much nonstop since then for sale. And we saw this opportunity. We saw that the RM1 zone to the south would make a logical extension, putting in 2 parcels to the north because they're predominantly open space and inaccessible hill. So that is why we're before you this evening.
Okay, before I ask you what this is,
Mhm.
I kind of run through this, I just want to announce for our visitors that if you are here for the BZA meeting, that meeting is across the hall in meeting rooms 1 and 2, and that begins at 6:30. And so since nobody is moving, I'm assuming that you're here and you're in the right place.
Yes.
Okay, very good. Continue, please.
Yes, sir. All right, so this is the proposed site plan, subject to final engineering. So we have the unit layout set up here, so you can see this is mostly developed where the level topography is. So you would see in the front, and pardon it for being so small, and I don't have glasses to look at this, but the units in the front section closest to Quinnipiac, the 10 buildings there are consisting of all 1-bedroom units. There would be 25 in each building, both sides, so 50 in the front, and then there would be 20 in the back, which are 2-bedroom units. There's plenty of parking. We could have put more units on, but we wanted to kind of keep the harmony of the neighborhood and keep this something, that's reasonable and desirable and would fit within the parameters of the neighborhood. There hasn't been any development in this area in quite some time, decades. And I think it's pretty exciting to have something go up that's going to look good and serve a good purpose and serve for affordable units. The units are all spacious; they're all good sizes. They have terraces and walkouts and ample closet space and ample bathrooms. These are units that I would build anywhere in the state, to be honest with you. I mean, they look really, really good. So I'm open to any questions. The previous development that was proposed before had added plenty of test holes done for stormwater retention, and this is we're probably going to keep the stormwater somewhat in the same place and serviced by water, sewer, no gas. This would be all energy efficient electric heating, cooking, and hot water, all double split units. So that's pretty much it. And like I said before, we've gotten several letters of support from the municipality.
Just for the sake of, and I'd like to recognize our committee member from Ward 26. Thank you for joining us this evening. Would you just, high level, would you just give us the difference between the 2 zones?
Sure. So the RS2 is a predominantly single-family zone. It permits conversion to multifamily at a very high standard. So that's why the prior development that was proposed for the site was only 10 units. I think you need one unit, you get one house per 7,500 square feet of lot area. The RM1, which is the zone to the south of us that we're seeking to extend 2 parcels north, permits one dwelling unit per 2,000 square feet of lot area, which gets us to, I'm sorry, one dwelling unit per 3,500 square feet of lot area, which gets us to the density that we need for this project. We could have chosen to go with the RM2 zoning, which would have gotten double 1 unit per 2,000. We thought that was too much. There was no other example of RM2 zone in close proximity to this zone. So we chose the what I would consider the responsible choice, and we didn't go overly aggressive. We kind of shot ourselves in the foot with that because we're not able to give the back of the parcel to the bird sanctuary, but we're trying to consider it like an easement, the conservation easement or something to get the unusable portion of the property to the bird sanctuary if they want it. So because lot area determines how many units you could do, if we had chosen to go RM2 zoning, ask this commission, this board to change the designation to RM2, we would have been able to donate about half of the land and still retain 70 apartments, 70 dwelling units on site. But we didn't make that choice. We made the less big ask choice, and that's what we have before you tonight.
Thank you.
Which is, to the south of us, there's Hidden Quarry, a couple other condominium developments that are similar density to what we're proposing. I think there's 3 or 4 that enter off the same little stub of a road.
Mhm. Anything else?
No, that's it. We're just excited to do the project and love to do it.
Great. I'll open it now for questions from committee members. Our zoning expert?
I think it's fairly straightforward, Mr. Chair. I don't have any questions. I'll have more to say during deliberations, however. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Again, any questions from committee members? Seeing none?
I'm just thrilled that we have a whole contingent of Westville alters.
Just about.
So close to this property.
Yep. Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. So I'm gonna keep this rolling because some of our attorneys are on a tight schedule. And so what we're going to do is we're going to call for public testimony after we hear all the items.
We're not on a tight schedule.
Yeah, but the others are. Yeah, the others are. And so, thank you. Yeah, thank you.
Just for your information, Chair, I need to be at the Board of Zoning Appeals at 6:30, so thank you.
Yeah, I don't think we'll have any other questions
Thank you.
for you. If we do, we'll page you.
I didn't know where to. Thank you.
Yep, so what we're gonna have to do, because of the time constraints, we have to move things around just a little bit. So we need to hear item 3, because the attorneys from BZA are here, and they need to get to that meeting at some point. He didn't know. So with the petitioners for item 3. Thank you, councilors, for being here this evening. We can get your name and address for the, we're going pretty quick, aren't we? We're not too bad tonight. Not too bad. Thank you, sir. Get your name and address for the record, and then you have the floor.
Thank you. I think for accommodating us tonight, Robert Williams, Acting Corporation Counsel, 20 Lancelot Drive, North Haven.
And Michael Pinto, Assistant Corporation Counsel, 507 Central Avenue, New Haven, Connecticut.
And I will just let colleagues know that there's a paper here that we'll be working from, that came from Corp Counsel. This came from, so we'll be looking at this, and then when we go to deliberation, we'll make the appropriate substitution.
Mr. Chair, members of the committee, this is just a reworked, actually, Mr. Chairman actually tasked us with trying to come up with. As we have recognized, there have been numerous instances of unlicensed and therefore illegal sales of cannabis throughout the city. And despite our efforts at sort of trying to zone out new smoke shops, fortunately, during the 2025 session, the state legislature had enacted some additional authority and powers for municipalities, recognizing that the decision to decriminalize, for the most part, recreational use of cannabis and licensing dispensaries does not cover all of it, and there's clearly a financial incentive to sell unlicensed cannabis, and apparently no shortage of it. So in, I believe, December, we were here, and the version we had gotten from OLS seemed to just not work very well, and was sort of reciting terms of the statute, but without, it just seemed a little disjointed. We, at the time, were like, why don't we just trim this down and just adopt all of the authority? It was relayed to us that having a better explanation of what the authorities are, what the issue we're trying to address, and where we're going and what we're doing would work a little bit better. So in the version that you have now, we have laid out the new authorizations and the new powers that municipalities can impose civil penalties. We lay out that in order to employ that authority and exercise that authority, the legislative body of the city must actually affirmatively take on that authority. And some additional legislative findings that the Board of Alders desires to reduce and deter violations of rampant illicit sales of cannabis, and that imposing, taking on this authority where we can impose civil fines would be an active deterrent, and also civil penalty, very stiff civil penalties for those who do eventually, if they do violate the unlicensed sale of cannabis. And so and thank you to OLS for adding in, we're adding a new Chapter 16 Health Regulation of Adult Use Cannabis section. And then when we get to the second page, you'll see that we've structured it in two sections. First, just broadly adopting all of the municipal authority as laid out and as may be amended in the future. This way we don't have to come back if the civil penalties are increased for at some point. And then laying out the basics of no business shall operate in violation of the provisions of 21A-420C. Also laying out the powers that are authorized for the mayor, and then if he determines, so like if city staff determine that there's been illicit sale of cannabis, or that we can, that the mayor or his designee can apply to the Superior Court for an order, effectively that helps shut down that business by confiscating the violation, any merchandise that's involved in the violation, and that includes if there are tobacco products alongside illicit cannabis products. You can then confiscate all of the products, including the otherwise legal tobacco product. I was asking for someone to actually do the job of imposing the civil fines. I put that in the hands currently of the LCI director. simply because we needed, and it doesn't make sense for it to be listed as the mayor or economic development administrator. It seemed more reasonable to have it be someone who is already active in housing and other enforcement. Although that's certainly effectively a placeholder. If the committee or the alders believe it should be some other agency, whether it's the health director or the economic development director or their designee, we certainly have no problem with that. And then just laying out the hearing procedure for appeal. And that's an overview of what we've got, where we have reworked the ordinance.
Anything else?
That's well spoken, I have nothing to add. Thank you.
Just kind of taking in, this is my first time seeing this. And so, should we breathe for a minute, or do we have questions immediately? Do you have questions?
I have one question.
Certainly.
Thank you. Does anywhere in the warehouse, does it cover the cannabis use in terms of businesses, apartments next to each other?
Only to the extent that if you were, this is primarily dealing with the retailer, like the illicit, the unlicensed retailers. I've sort of been dancing around calling it illegal sales, and they are illegal, but it's primarily because they're unlicensed and they don't operate a dispensary, like a licensed dispensary. And therefore the cannabis is not tested. It's not, it's not going through the proper channels to ensure that it's as safe as the product is supposed to be, and through the quality control testing. So this is primarily for the places like where we were dealing with Vape, which are us, and Hive grows up on Whaley Avenue. And I believe the impetus for the amendments that make this as stiff as the penalties are was the nearly 2-year process that Planet Zaza out in Fox and Boulevard and East Haven. It took almost 2 years for the civil authorities to be able to shut it down. They would go in, they took one day they went in, the consumer protection went in with the East Haven police, they took out something in the realm of 200 pounds of cannabis product in various forms, and the place was open the next day, fully stocked. As I said, there doesn't seem to be any shortage of unlicensed cannabis products. And this way is, a lot of that was clearly being marketed to minors. And as we see, like in the high grows, and we see the Vapes R Us matter. These are listed as bags like candies, like Skittles with a Z. And obviously, our office and the wisdom of the legislature was to decriminalize cannabis and then license it the same way we do with alcohol. And this piece is to hopefully deter and penalize those who are not going through the proper channels.
If I may, one more question,
Certainly.
Mr. Chair. And so therefore, the reason why I asked that question is because you're giving that directive to the executive director of Livable Cities Initiative. Why not to then the health department or to one of the other departments that deals with enforcement, like our police department?
It may well be better suited for the health director. It was merely a time crunch, and we were in trying to borrow and do a better job of explaining the powers that are actually being authorized. We did borrow some language from the town of East Hartford, and there they had actually identified the economic, what would be the economic development administrator, which would be a perfectly reasonable thing, because EDA covers not just LCI, but the building, building enforcement. If you're in your wisdom, I don't have a dog in this fight. And it used to be that LCI had, slightly larger purview. Now with the dividing up, they are primarily doing housing, so this is not, so maybe it isn't actually as appropriate for the LCI director to be overseeing the enforcement. Maybe it would be better suited in either the zoning enforcement officer or which would be the building official and his deputies. Again, the economic development administrator oversees that department, so he could simply designate, the EDA could simply designate building or zoning enforcement to manage the day-to-day issues and so penalties. Part of it was because the process for blight and the appeal process here will be effectively identical. It was just dealing with someone who already knew the hearing process and could process appeals efficiently.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Any other questions? Alderman Marks?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you. Just some questions mostly about my understanding of the state statute or incorporating it, so therefore I need to make sure I understand the state statute, please. Couple questions. I understand it seems like the power of the state statute that allows a couple of things. One, it allows the violation to be a CUTPA, an unfair trade practice violation, which is obviously has some serious teeth in it. And the second is there's fines. The third is this ex parte hearing for a taking of the
Merchandise, yeah.
leading me to two questions.
Sure.
You made a statement that there can be a taking on court order of the merchandise, and I see it here. It's the cannabis and the tobacco product, but I don't see how this reads to explain. It says merchandise related to the violation. How
The
is
violation is having the cannabis and the tobacco products in the same location.
that is the violation?
The fact that they're next to each other or in close proximity, that is the violation.
Where do you see that in the wording of state statute? Is that correct? Because I'm going to the question of what is the definition of violation, because it led me to the other question while you're looking. It's sort of any violation gets subject to fines. I'm just trying to understand what the definition of violation is. The date on which it occurs, so you go in once and you've got the violation. Is it quantities? And trying to understand the meaning of violation, please.
Just asking, is this the original version that was? It's not.
I'm looking at what's on page 59 and 60 of our packet.
This
I
is
don't know if that's
actually,
correct.
so this is General Statute 2024.
Right. I was gonna say, it's been.
It's been up, so this is 2025 version.
2025 update.
Okay. Right, so this is actually, so the reason why this is in here is because this is what we had in committee from initially, so this is the original package. So what you did, Counselor, is you took the language from the 2025
The updated 2025.
and updated that language. Okay.
Might we,
And I'm happy to provide.
Yeah.
and might we be able to get a copy of that 2020
Absolutely.
through staff? or-
We would have to in
Thank
order
you.
to make
Because
a good comparison.
And just to lead to just another question, if I may.
Of course.
Just trying to also just understand incorporation. So that when you're incorporating state statute into the city code, and even though I'm new to the legislation committee and however it's the ordinance, but sort of curious the logic and why we just sort of reference and incorporate sort of the state law with just a number instead of putting in language which fills out and explains? Just, because to me, it would seem that we might want to see the city code actually explain things without having to go back to read what the state law says. I'm just curious the approach on
The
that.
entire, which is why we laid out the sort of how the 2025 amendments get us to where we are going, and then actually adding in subsection B, what the meat and sort of teeth of what the authority is going to be. The reason for doing, for the full incorporation is I can guarantee this is going to change. And
The state law.
the state law is undoubtedly going to change as municipalities react and deal with the now. I mean, this is a significant issue across the state. The proliferation of smoke shops, which all look the same, and there doesn't appear to be any reasonable business model to support, that would make them viable unless they were making a lot of money selling weed that they are not authorized to sell. It has become a significant issue across the street. Corporation Counsel Williams and I both went to what was it called, a seminar at the Attorney General's office this past fall, and we were kind of gobsmacked as to, because obviously it was becoming a significant issue here in the city, in New Haven, but we were sort of gobsmacked as to how quickly it proliferated, not just in New Haven, but across the state. Then even, if you do a Google search or if you do a Google Maps search for vapes R Us, you will find at least 25 of them across the country that all look exactly the same. And if I were a betting man, I would tell you that I would say the good money in it, the safe money is on, they're probably all selling illicit weed in some form or another. Evading there. Who knows? Maybe some of them perfectly, there may be some other state laws are a little bit more relaxed than Connecticut. Connecticut has done this in a very slow approach with very, fairly limited numbers of dispensaries, dispensary licenses. But the ability of let's call them smoke shops, and this is not to lump all of them together, but it has clearly become an issue where they're proliferating, and I think I'm reasonably certain that most of them are selling unlicensed cannabis.
Sure. Last question. With the two still looking to hear the answer to. I just want to understand under the state statute, and I know it's changed. I don't know if this portion changed. There's sort of an immediate taking of the property, but I don't see within the state law an explanation of what happens to the property or when the venue gets to resell. So
Again, another reason to incorporate it's not clear under the state statute what happens to it. It's not.
So if we're going to adopt this state statute into our city code, we need a provision of what happens. Our city code will now also not say what happens to it and when the operation can reopen next day, and what are you doing with the taking? It's some sort of civil forfeiture, I think, but I'm not sure what happens.
There's also, keep in mind, this is also going to be working in conjunction with our city health code, health licensing. So like their violation, the health department license for smoke shops, right? Obviously if you're just a dress shop selling illicit cannabis, that's going to be a little different. But many of these places are also currently required to be licensed as a smoke shop or tobacco retailer, and any unlicensed sale of cannabis is also a violation of our existing city ordinances and they are shut. It's a $500 fine for the first offense. Second offense is a 7-day suspension and a much larger fine, and then effectively like a 3-year ban or permanent closure on the third offense within 36 months. I don't have it right in front of me, but all of these things will be working. Part of this was to add this additional authority for civil fines that we're not adding when we had changed both the zoning code and the health department licensing for smoke shops.
Sorry, thank you,
No, you
Mr.
still-
Verdi.
you still have the
Thank
floor.
you. So we're only attempting at this point to incorporate the civil fines, not the taking provision?
No, it would be the confiscation as well.
Because it just seems
So
to
it's
me
not
that
taking. Taking is a legal term of art.
I will be careful in my usage of the word.
Sorry,
The confiscation of
the
the confiscation of the property, with a concern that it's an ex parte hearing, without what we do with it. It just seems like it's I'm fully supportive of the idea. I do appreciate where we're going. I'm asking questions of what seems to be some missing pieces of the process.
Well, in my reading of the statute, I don't see any requirement for an appeal process. We have built in the appeal process through 7-152C.
I'm not even talking about appeals, sir. I'm talking about just it's ex parte without a hearing. So I appreciate the ex parte initially, but the question would be whether the city would need to hold some kind of hearing.
Not under the statute.
Concerned this. Okay. I have concerns that the statute may be taking us in a direction that may put the city in jeopardy of taking this problem. Just a concern. I don't know the answer to it.
It might be worth our inquiring with the Attorney General's office. I did see an invitation somewhere in our review of this to ask them any questions we have. I'd be curious what's envisioned.
Can I clarify? You understand my question?
Yeah.
Thank you, Attorney
So what
Williams.
I'm suggesting is that we could
Thank you.
we could follow up on that.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Thank you, Mr. Madrigal.
Would you like to receive that information?
Yes, through the chair, I would very much like to receive some information regarding a number of topics.
Okay. Are you all set?
Thank you.
All the remarks?
Thank you very much.
Great.
Mr. Madrigal.
Alder Rodriguez.
Thank you.
Well, let's go to Alder Marchand first,
Thank you.
and then we'll go to Alder Rodriguez. Can I borrow your pen, please?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, gentlemen, for your presentation. I support the goal of increasing enforcement in this area. We've seen all sorts of problems. So you're pointing to, I'm addressing the former mayors.
I don't have glasses on, so-
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. I support the goal. I'm just thinking through the execution of it, and I think it might be useful. I've read the packet, but it might be useful to just say about the fines so the public can also hear, like, how much is it per day? It's different if you're the one who's selling the stuff versus the person who owns the building where the selling is happening. Just say a few words about like what the sequence of events would be. Like the city agent shows up, then what happens, then what happens, then what happens, and include the dollar.
If it pleases the committee, we would not be at all opposed to taking this back. You know, if you needed to table it for and putting some clarifying language in. We received it relatively late. We were not aware that it was going to be on the agenda today, and we spent a goodly portion of the day reworking it, taking into account what the discussion that we had. I believe it was about December, and we just. I think it would actually I wouldn't mind putting a little bit more work into it, and that way we can be able to clarify some of the issues raised by both Alder Marchand and Alder Marks.
It sounds like you prefer to answer my question later and not now.
I'm happy to put in the $30,000. Again, we run into laying out what fines are in parts of the ordinance that are much more complicated to, I mean, I would have no problem referencing it in whatever it is, 2-17 or 1-217, where we put our list of fees and other schedule, where that is updated annually as part of the budget process. That would, because then we know it's going to be revisited relatively quickly. And part of this was, because this is becoming, I think this has already been a moving target as to how quickly the state legislature moved to amend the statutes, the authorizing statutes within 2 years of it being, cannabis being basically illegal on the market, or on the legal market at dispensaries. And they reacted very, very quickly as proliferation of smoke shops, some unlicensed cannabis can have come about. I would not be surprised if part of just my hesitancy is only in, we're going to be like moving the goalposts, and we're going to be back here saying we'd like to incorporate the new fines because we laid them out, and now the fines are stiffer, but we've listed, but we've identified what they are, and have not had a chance to amend our own statutes. So we're shackling, we're handcuffing ourselves. We're finding that problem with working on ordinances to increase zoning fines, where it's somehow built into the city charter that the zoning fine should be $250, which is our municipal authority. We're stuck, and part of it is because it just never got. No one ever noticed it, and it's not a high priority it wasn't a high priority for during charter reform to catch catch these little traps. And if we keep mostly this is my hesitancy is only that we be as nimble as we can be in keeping up with what the state may authorize.
Okay. All right, so I'll just make a quick comment, if I may, Mr. Chair, which is that part of what we're trying to do here is deter certain activity, and so the dollar amount is important for its deterrent effect. And so information that we might have from the field or from other towns about what has been effective would be part of what I would consider when thinking about an ordinance that sets forth dollar amounts for fines and penalties and such. The other thing I would just quickly say, if indeed it becomes clear that we should take more time with this, that the assignment of the enforcement responsibility to whichever city agency is an important topic to discuss with the leadership of the city administration. That's the mayor, but also the coordinators and the department heads involved, because it's a capacity issue. And what, do you get more capacity if this enforcement activity dovetails with related or adjacent enforcement activity? Or do you not get more capacity if there's that kind of adjacency or synergy among the efforts? It just comes to mind that the health department would make sense since they're already inspecting these establishments. But I don't want to speak for the public health director, who might say, well, wait a minute, I need X, Y, and Z in order to make that happen. So, I think the choice of who to, you could just say it's the mayor and he designates whoever he wants to, but I think we want this to work. So having a discussion with the actual people who would be responsible for enforcement would be important, because we want a lot of eyes on these businesses, and we want to correct the bad behavior. So I'll just make that quick remark and send it back to you, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll add something too, if it's helpful. I think your original request was just to state the fines, so that if anyone here is wanting to testify, they can be aware of those. My understanding is for people found in violation of the ordinance, people that are selling cannabis products without the proper licenses, it's $30,000 per offense. So every day that there's found to be an offense, it's an additional $30,000. The same goes for anyone that is found to be aiding or abetting this. Landlords, it's different. It's 10,000 per offense. So it's less, but it's still substantial, especially because every day there's a violation. The way this works, by my understanding in investigations, is that Department of Consumer Affairs, or Consumer Protection rather, will typically come in and with various people from the city, be it from the health department, zoning enforcement officer, whoever is tasked to do this, and they have to go and make these findings each time. And so it's a process.
Thank you for that. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Well, we can certainly have, or the maximum allowed by the state statute. Put the amount there, or the maximum allowed.
As amended from time to time. Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. Any other comments from, yes, almost forgot you already.
I had the question regarding, the fines that's on page 55 of the packet. It says now therefore be it ordained, and it talks about, under E, it talks about the violations, but you did mention something about the landlords and $10,000 for an offense. Could you talk a little bit more about that, please? Thank you, Mr. Chair.
If any landlord knowingly provide, like either leases for compensation or not, or provide space at which they know that unlicensed cannabis being offered for sale, they are then subject to that $10,000 fine. So if you offered a space at, like at your social club, and because there was an issue of these pop-up, almost like cannabis bazaars and cannabis fairs, particularly at Camden was having a particular problem with them. So it's, just offering the space, like instead of a Spirit Halloween, you offered up a cannabis party at which people could go purchase cannabis for, and the landlord who offered that, the owner or manager of the property, if they offered up that property knowing that was what was going to happen, then they would be subject to the fine.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Any other questions from committee? Seeing none, councilors, we thank you.
Thank you. Thanks again for your comment.
Thank you so much for accommodating us. Keep going.
We'll now call petitioner for our second item, OR-2025. 26-0002 zoning ordinance amendment, map amendment, approving a change in the designation of 18 Tower Lane.
You decided to put money in the meter.
Don't know if I can pull out a Dropbox.
Let's do that on record.
Okay.
So you can say that. Yes.
That one?
Yep. Yep, that's
Thank
fine.
you.
Yep, that's fine. I got one.
I got one.
Give a couple of
I actually can't log into it.
Is that the same? That looks smaller.
You want
It's the same one?
Yeah, no.
Oh, the other, I see the other track, okay. Good evening, thank you for being here. Just give us your name and address for the record, and you have the floor.
Chair for all the members, the legislation committee.
If you can just pull that mic gently towards you, so we can all hear you, great. You can pull that right in front of you.
Yeah, we,
Oh, somebody else is coming.
oh, great.
Sorry, my meter expired.
Perfect time. My name's Carolyn Cohn. I live at 131 West Park Avenue in New Haven. I'm a partner of Brenner Salter and Wallman. Our offices are at 271 Whitney Avenue.
My name is Jesse Westcott, here for the Towers of Tower Land. My address is 42 River Road, Unionville, Connecticut.
Laura Gilmore, here from New Architects. And our office is at 265 Church Street, here in Haiti.
Thank you.
Thank you. Just, Director Lucas, you have our slide.
I do. Unfortunately, it's in Dropbox, so I can't.
Oh, I have a.
Can you do a USB?
Yeah.
Drive. Okay.
There you go.
Thank you for understanding.
You're
the technical
No, there are a
element.
couple folders on there.
Okay.
Just sort of tower.
Yeah, this one should be,
Oh,
this
okay.
will be a one and doneer.
A one and done.
Okay, we can do that too. All right.
So we're here this evening on a petition for a map. And this involves the towers on Tower Lane. Two of the members have to be patient with us because they have seen most of these slides before. So currently, the towers in Tower Lane, it's elderly housing and supportive services, assisted living, and it's for low and moderate income senior citizens. And it is also in terms of zoning in what's called Planned Development District number 15. And I understand that members of this committee must be pretty familiar with Planned Development District 15 because it was part of the Union Square project. And so it was created in 1967, and it involved a number of different owners. So it involved Tower 1, Tower East came along about 10 years later. It involved the Church Street South project. It later involved the Robert Wolf project and involved the Greek Church. The concept of PDD number 15, it was a tailored, it didn't have general rules for all those different parcels. It was tailored for each particular project. And when in the under planned development districts in New Haven, you have to have 250 square feet of open space per unit, and for elderly, it's 125. And the concept for PDD 15 was that everybody was going to share their open space, so that although there was not enough open space for the towers on the towers property, they shared the Church Street South open space and parks. And when that development was demolished, the open space that was attributed to the towers, a lot of it was disappeared. So the towers, I'm going to admit this, is currently out of zoning compliance. So that's problem number one. And problem number two is that the towers wants to build a third tower. There's a great demand for their services. And that would create the need for, the plan would be 150 units approximately. So then we'd need open space for all of those people. So it would be more out of zoning compliance. And the PDD number 15 did not contemplate a third tower. So it's really a pretty old zoning designation, just like Union Square. It's not good for what they want to do in the future. It's not good for what we want to do in the future. What we're asking is that the zoning become the BD3 zoning. And that's different from what Union Square, and I can talk about that later on. They're going for the transit orient, the community zoning. Our zoning is the zone that we're requesting is the zoning that's just adjacent to us in the Pierpont building and in the 5 residential projects that the RMS developer has developed across the street. And we think for us, it's a much more appropriate zoning because unlike the TOC zoning, assisted living is an as-of-right use. If we were to go with the TLC zoning, we have to go on special permit to get assisted living. And we want to have as much certainty as possible so we can get a co-developer with us. We are in the process of interviewing and selecting a co-developer. There are two other things that are appropriate for the TLC zone for us, because what we're doing is currently Tower 1 and Tower East are on two separate legal parcels. We're going to put them on one parcel and create a whole new development parcel for all three. And once we put Tower 1 and Tower East on one parcel, they will not be zoning compliant with the TLC zoning. And although they could continue as a non-conforming use, if they have to get financing, it's a problem. If something happens and they're destroyed, they can't rebuild. I mean, it just gets complicated. So we've looked at all the other zoning possibilities, not all of them, but about 3 or 4. And we have come up with that this is to just move the zone that's to the west of us onto our property is the most appropriate, and the City Plan Commission agrees with that. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Westcott. And Gus Keeps Longo, who has appeared before, 2 of you before, he's the CEO, and he's in California at a conference for elderly people who provide elderly services. So Mr. Westcott is the vice president, and he's going to go through a little bit about the towers, and what they are about, and what we want to do. So,
Absolutely. Thank you for having us. Appreciate it. I just want to echo what Carolyn said about Gus. I've gotten no less than probably 50 texts to remind everybody here that he is very sorry for not being here in person. And I'm headed to join him in California to accept the national award for some of our care. So very proud moment for the towers coming up at the Association of Jewish Aging Services Conference. When we look at why we're here today, I'm going to do my best to kind of work through who the towers is, what we do, and why it makes us special and why there's a need. So our site location, as you can see from our slide here, nestled right on Church Street South and the 34 connector. And if we flip to the next one, that's us. So that is our community, 21 floors in Tower 1, 13 floors in Tower East, a little over 4.5 acres. Next slide, please. And then if we look at our current apartment mix, we've got 328 units. 130 of those underwent various stages of assisted living conversion through HUD through the 90s and the 2000s. And those make the apartments able for folks who need more care and support to have that in an environment where they never have to leave their apartment, which is very important to us. We've got 73% of our folks are below 50% AMI, and our model is very different from most models, where our low-income folks actually support our middle market folks because of the subsidy. So it's a very unique model. And our new goal is to work with some funding and create 40 more of those units because the need is so dire. Next slide, please. If you look at the demographics of who we care for, our average age pushes 80, and the 219 of our 310-ish residents at any time are qualified to be in a skilled care facility. If we look at the bottom right and we look at the length of stay, what makes the towers unique is that unlike the US at 22 months and unlike the state of Connecticut at 18 months, people who are on our assisted living services stay for almost 5 years. So it's 5 years that we're able to keep a senior in the least restrictive housing and not put strain on our skilled care facilities. Next slide. This breaks down a little bit of that number. And when we look at average hours of care per week, I want to talk a little bit about the bottom 2 bullets. Our average age is 80, but we have folks in our community that are 62 to 104. So we've got 6 folks who are on hospice. We've got folks who are 62 and still working. And the beauty of the towers and kind of our model is that, I'm sure Gus has talked about the hub or the spoke of the wheel. I like to use the envelope analogy. We're the envelope, you fill it however you like. We're there to give you all of the support that's needed, but we understand that everybody's care needs are different. Next slide, please. So aging in place is transitioning to aging in community, which is really our new vision, and that's that you move in and you never need to leave. So you come in at 62, you switch over to a subsidy at some point if you need to, Care can be coordinated through our team of resident service coordinators who are non-clinical social workers who help you with how you fill your envelope. We've got preferred partners, we've got assisted living, home care, behavioral health agencies, PT, OT. We have personal emergency response dependents. We started micro businesses to help support our programming, so we created our own TV and Wi-Fi networks. We have laundry machines, we do customized housekeeping packages, and all of that money funnels back into our model to pay for programming. Next slide. Program, this is a snapshot of 2 weeks at the towers from the program perspective. We're really proud of the bottom left there. That's a pathway key, so rather than just putting on a calendar of things that are nice to do, we take it a step further, and everything we do is evidence-based. So we use the Dr. Hetler model, and we ask folks to participate in a voluntary survey where we can identify pathways that fulfill them, and then our RSCs or resident service coordinators act as coaches, and they're able to direct you to things that would fulfill you. So let's say that you needed some help being a bit more physically fit. You look at the dumbbell, you go to the dumbbell. And all of that is what makes us just a little different, because it is housing, but in that envelope, you can do many things. And there's some great pictures of some of our past parties. Recently, personally, I had the pleasure of helping to modify 30,000, can you go to the next slide, sorry, rookie. We just did a 3-year program, or a 3-year project, where through a pretty complicated capital stack, we were able to do a renovation of all of our ground floor spaces with the priority of creating spaces for residents. So we went from 2 spaces where you could do activities to 8. And we took our dining program, next slide please, and we're able to open that up so that people can dine in different fashions. We have a bistro section, we have a section that is much like a restaurant, we have a quieter tailored section called elm dining. We used a lot of social architecture and theories like Dunbar's number and proxemics to design smaller spaces that are all conducive for residents to be able to stop and talk and create friendships. And if we look at our model and kind of how the towers is paid for, we have a combination of those project-based Section 8 HAPs and what's known as pre-1974 PRAC 202, along with 85 middle market, where we cap that so that it is well below what you would pay at Peerable. And then our services and care model are really what set us apart and drive the demand. So apartments are great, but apartments with services are needed for our seniors, and that's what the towers does. By having the ability through those resident service coordinators to customize things for you, they can work with you from, again, 62 and working to the needing of services all the way up to potential of palliative and hospice care. Next slide. And one of the things that we talk about heavily is making sure that we have a priority to create well-paying jobs for Native New Haveners. We regularly look at compensation studies, and our HR director stays current with keeping the matrix of how many folks live in New Haven proper and how can we make their lives a little better. Next slide, please.
Talk about this one.
Please, this is a Gus-centric slide, and I would not do it justice.
No, but as pointed out in the City Plan Commission Advisory Report, what we're planning to do, this zone change is very much in accord with New Haven Vision 234. And one of the high priority goals is to have affordable housing with long-term care services, and that's exactly what the towers does. There are a number of other ones that the city plan points out, different strategies. 6.1, pursue necessary zoning amendments to promote aging in place, which is what we're here today for. And they also point out in different strategies in New Haven is a great place to live, and strategies 1, 2.6, and 5. They also say that what we're asking to do this evening is in accord with our new comprehensive plan.
It was much better than I would have done. So kind of closing on my piece, our values have led us to have money. If you think specifically of the Section 8 building, that wait list is 2 years long. In the sense of average length of stay is, again, on assisted living almost 5 years. For our younger folks, we've had one couple that's been there for 30 plus. So if the inventory doesn't turn over, we can't help anybody else. And if we look at the wait list for Tower East, which is the Section 8 building, at 2 years, and then if we go over to Tower 1, outside of those 85 market rate apartments, we're looking at 18 months potentially, depending on the level of turnover. So for some folks, their decision to move to the towers comes too late. And by the time they call and make it through the process of gathering the documents when an apartment becomes ready, they're often at an acuity level where they potentially need skilled care or where they've had to make other decisions. So it's our goal to be able to utilize the land and all of the pieces that Carolyn spoke about to be able to take care of more people. And that's really what this is about for us.
All right, so this slide is really, thank you. Is intended to orient you to the parcels. You can see the Tower 1 and Tower East in the background, and the 2 acres of this 4-acre parcel in the foreground are the site for the development of Tower 3. So I'll preface the following slides with the fact that the final form and metrics of this development will be defined at a later date when developer is brought on board. This really hasn't gone through sort of a financial feasibility analysis, constructability analysis, but really is intended to illustrate what's possible. And a lot of thought and work has gone into this project so far to assess its feasibility. This includes a market analysis completed by HRNA and work done by the Yale Urban Design Workshop, as well as feedback from the community. The concept shown here builds upon that research. What you see is a 26-story tower sitting on a 2-story podium. The form utilizes undulating sort of balconies to provide outdoor access at every unit, while operating also as a shading device to the units directly below. And inspired by the idea of a gateway to the city, this new tower is intended to complement the Knights of Columbus. These 2 structures form a powerful urban composition, which define a civic frame and announce arrival into New Haven. So in the next slide, this goes back to what Carolyn has already spoke about, which is currently have 2 parcels, neither of which is conducive to the development of a new tower. By redistributing the area, as you can see, so the red and blue are the original lines of parcel division, and the gray and green reflect the new. And by redistributing this area, it really creates a more viable development lot, which will be more appealing to create more appealing conditions for developers with a zoning that is appropriate for these 2 parcels. Next slide. Oop, yeah. This slide really illustrates a diagram of the concept that you just saw in the earlier rendering. Here again, you can see we have the 26-story tower on top of the 2-story podium. The residential tower is comprised of a high percentage of subsidized units, with only 14 of the 150 being market rate. And in the next 2 slides, we'll walk through the type of programming that we're striving for at the podium levels. Again, this needs to be fleshed out, but the idea is that a portion of the ground floor will be dedicated to the lobby and residential uses, while a more significant portion includes uses that we understand are desired by the community, as well as responsive to the city's ambition to extend south Orange Street. And so you can see here we have some micro retail, a small market, child care. We understand that research has shown benefits of this kind of cross programming, a cafe where residents and the community can socialize and relax. And these uses are intended to serve the community at large, but also create an accessible and walkable retail amenity to the tower's residents and activate the streetscape. On the second floor, this really includes uses that are more mission-driven, which Jesse was speaking about, oriented toward senior care and supportive services, while promoting physical activity, social engagement, and mental stimulation. On the next slide, the development concept also holds a large open green space an oasis of sorts at the heart of the site, and nestled between towers Tower 1 and Tower East and the proposed Tower 3. This is really an important space, essential to support Tower's program, that calendar which you just saw. But will also bring the community when Towers is hosting large community events. The next slide, this is a typical floor plan, which reflects a possible unit mix, which is responsive to what we understand is both desired and needed, given the limited options for middle-income seniors. And this mix, it really includes a higher number of 2 and 3 bedroom units, providing options for residents and potentially their caretakers.
So now this is my part. So the slide to the left is, I believe, the current zoning, and it shows PDD 15. And then the slide to the right shows what we're requesting, which is the BD3, and you'll see that it is the same as the adjacent zone. And the next slide, I think, talks about why we want the BD3. And it's basically what I said, is that it allows us to be completely as of right zoning compliant. It will allow mixed use, and it will demonstrate, because we're applying to the state, we have state funding for pre-development, that the project is moving forward. And so the zoning ordinance sets forth a number of criteria for when you make a change, and the charter sets forth a number of criteria for zoning. And I won't go through all of them, but I believe that we do meet all the criteria. This is an appropriate zone. We've looked at other zones. We've looked at the underlying zone before the PDD 15 was adopted. We looked at doing another PDD. We looked at the TLC zone, and along with the City Plan Commission, we believe that this is the most appropriate zone. So I think I'll end it there and see what kinds of questions you might have for this team.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
For your presentation. I just want to correct the record. In my earlier reading, I said 18 Tower Lane and 18 Tower Lane, and it's 18 Tower Lane and 1B Tower Lane. I should have read it from my iPad rather than from here. So with that, I'll see if there's any questions from the committee. Certainly.
Thank you. Mr. Chair, I just wanted to make a note for the record.
Sure.
Mr. Chair?
Let's see what you're going to say.
Good. Just a note for the record, and I think that Attorney Cohen will not be surprised by what I'm sharing. I sat on the City Services Environmental Protection Committee. We did hear a presentation last week, a few days ago, from yourself, similar, and thank you for the presentation. Thank you for this great project. Thank you for everything you do. Wonderful work. That presentation was about the disposition of some land from the city.
It was about releasing 3 easements.
Releasing 3 easements. Thank you for sharing the correct language.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's perfect. It's perfect. I appreciate it. We were hearing about releasing 3 easements. It did pass unanimously, but with the communication to you and your partners that we were looking for a letter of support from Corporation Council. It was decided by Chair Festa that we would consider such letter of support before first and certainly second reading. But I just want to state for the record that there is a hopefully pending letter of support from Corporation Council, and I think that goes to everything we're hearing here tonight. But thank you,
Thank you.
and
So
thank you,
just
Majority
for
Leader.
the record, I have asked for the letter. If there's anything that anybody can do, because as Corporation Council is very overburdened, or if we could maybe get a letter from John Ward, who is probably as overburdened, but has been involved, because I sent him a memo in October of last year laying out the easement, so he may have this more in his, have a greater understanding. But whatever the Board of Alders to do to help me get the required letter ID?
So, Ms. Mazel, you staff, C-staff also?
Yeah.
Okay, so, Ms. Mazel will follow through with that.
Thank you
Thank
very
you,
much.
Mr. Chair, for me allowing me to make that clarification for the record.
Sure. Okay, so let's come back to Legislation Committee. Are there any other questions? Thank you, Alderman.
Mr. Chair,
Certainly.
thank you. Did you provide the letters that you say that you have?
Yes,
Yes.
Mr. Chair,
you did.
Which letters?
Yes, I'm sorry, it says it.
there
There's
are
a
a
number-
series of letters of support.
Support.
The letters of support are in the package that was,
I looked here, I didn't see them.
I saw
Okay.
letters in
And
in our
Mr. Wolf,
online
could you
package.
just,
Oh, on our
I'm sorry,
online packet.
I
Okay, thank
stopped
you.
it a little early.
Thank you.
Right, just wanted to point out the community engagement strategy. Been a lot of meetings, and then the next slide is the letters of support.
Okay. Good to know that. Mr. Chair, if I may.
Certainly.
Okay, in reference to community engagement, how did Hill South Management consider the zoning, the change of zoning?
You know, I'm not sure they looked at it, but I think they probably, it's all the letter because she's not there.
Okay.
She was at that meeting, and you were just, I think they talked more about the Tower 3 concept rather than the technical change in zoning, but, she was able to come back. She was probably the only person amongst all of us who was there. I was told it was well received.
I can share that that was part of just a larger listening campaign for all of the area. We had meetings at the public library, we had meetings at the towers, we sent out publications, we talked to community members, so I would agree wholeheartedly with Carolyn. That was mostly a presentation of ideas. This is what we're thinking, this is how it would improve the neighborhood, this is how many more people we could help, this is how many new jobs we could create.
I have one more question, Mr. Chair. In reference to your staff that services, what is the turnover rate there? Because I see that you provide all of these wonderful things for your staff. Seeing that you're going to do another, and you provide, I hear comments, and I know that the towers are in demand. People would like to live in a tower like that. But my question is, how about the staff itself in terms of all these services that you render in those facilities?
So if we think about staff, I want to talk about it in two ways. The first is our core tower staff, and there's about 50 of us. So because we don't provide any direct care, our staff are housekeepers, maintenance, front desk, obviously our administration, our team of social workers, and then everything else is through vendors. So we've got a third-party company, Morrison, that provides all of our dining. And then all the direct care are through preferred partners. So Utopia is our partner for assisted living and also for home care. Health Pro is our partner for OT and PT. So looking at the tower staff, I can say that since we went through a change in leadership in 2018 when Gus came on board, we've built a team, and for the most part, turnover's been really low. Our core team that we brought on as we created roles and kind of changed around people's job expectations to better fit the community and move us into an age where we could make and hold a calendar like that and be able to offer the services in the apartment as far as renovations. We turn over about 50 apartments a year, and we do that all in-house now with our own staff, which I think allows us to do a better job. Our housekeeping in 2019, we went through a process where we made it completely customizable so that if you're physically able to still vacuum, we want to do that. That helps you to have, more fulfillment, and it gets you moving. So since that time, we've added probably 10 to 15 staff since that 2018 staffing matrix, because we've been able through those micro businesses and just through the ability of better usage of the HUD budgets to retain and really hold on to folks. You know, I think on the guard level, the nights and weekends positions, those are going to turn over frequently just inherently because of what they are. But if I look at the core full-time staff or our FTEs, the team that we built over the period of probably 2018 and 2020, 90% of those folks are still with us. And I'm really proud of that. I love our team. I officially want to say that on the record.
Thank you. Mr. Chair, I just have one more question. It may be related and not be.
Please make it related,
Okay, thank
because we're
you.
right on the line. with
This has to do in reference to the, like the elevators and wear and tear of those buildings. You know, how is that? How are you doing with the care of those buildings? I have heard of, buildings where there's issues with the elevators and the repairs are not quick.
So you're required by
Thank you.
city ordinance to maintain a maintenance agreement with your elevators. Do you have that?
We do.
Okay,
And we have the notice posted both in English and Spanish inside all the elevators,
great.
which all for the record have been renovated. 4 of the 5 have been modernized since 2018. Tower East, 2 cars were done in 2018 with the refinancing of the building. And with the ground floor project, we used some HTCC funds to renovate 2 of the 3 in Tower 1, complete modernization. And the single car, which is the one that was added in early 2000s, has been regularly serviced and runs regularly. So if there is a concern, we do have a maintenance contract in place, and that contract has IBM Watson technology. So I literally get a text message and a call when our elevator is not feeling well. So it will predict elevator failures and literally text me. It's the wildest thing.
Thank you. Are there any further questions regarding this map amendment? Alderman Shannon.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, folks, for your presentation, and thank you for the work that you do. A lot of my questions were answered at the City Plan Commission, so I will not repeat them tonight. But I do want to ask about parking. That's often a subject of concern when we deal with parking and with projects, and when we deal with zoning and with projects. And so the BD 3 requires 0.5 spaces per dwelling unit.
It's 1 per 3. It's a 1 per 3 ratio.
Well, I'm just gonna, let me finish reading what's in here, and then if this is from the city plan report. It just lays out what the different parking, and I recommended my colleagues that the city plan report does a side-by-side analysis of the different components of the zoning options that were considered. And so if you look at the minimum parking, it says for the BD3, which is the proposed zone that this would begin, it's half a space per dwelling unit, of 0.33 per assisted living and elderly housing dwelling unit. But that would apply to the entire area that's being rezoned, including the existing buildings. And so, I guess the question, if in reviewing your options and settling on this, you must have also thought through your parking needs, your current parking inventory, what future parking or additional parking you need to add as part of the new construction. And I would just like you to talk more about the work you did thinking through the parking and what the parking dynamics are for this project.
So,
We are on page 48.
so for our current apartments, we need 109 spaces. We can provide, once we consolidate Tower 1, Tower East, we're 28 spaces short. The zoning ordinance allows you to, if it's within 1,000 feet, you can put it on our new Tower 3 parcel. So we will put that on our new Tower 3 parcel. However, it's also, the Tower 3 will be subject to the IZ, right? And we don't need any parking for that. But because that's what the city zone is. But we will practically need parking, particularly because we have all these service people, not necessarily the residents, but the people who come in to provide the services. So our thought is to build some kind of a parking deck, and we've spoken to the New Haven Parking Authority, and they're interested in partnering with us to build a parking garage. So that's our thinking on parking.
The IZ district overlay, this is, not the core, but this is the strong,
Exactly. So we need 5%, but we don't have to.
Yeah. But that applies to the new construction.
That's right.
Right.
Right, it wouldn't apply to
The existing,
existing,
yeah.
right? That's where we have the 109.
You're 28 short.
And the 28 short, but we will build parking
Thank you.
because we have to.
So that's helpful in a compliance perspective. I guess I would ask you from a more operational perspective. I've heard about this operation before. I've never been there myself. Perhaps I should go visit. But have you done more? Do most residents have cars or not? So is it mostly the staff parking that you have to be concerned about?
So we've got about 70 resident spaces that are reserved. Those folks pay a monthly fee and they park their cars there. So 70 out of 310 or 315. Mostly to second what Karen said, we've got a staff lot, we have a short-term lot, a 2+ hour lot, mostly for caregivers. And for the most part, we fit everybody. If we have a community event on the same day as maybe a heavy care day, we do have a floor guard who then goes outside and serves as a parking attendant and will guide and that sort of thing. But I have heard from all of the developers that parking garages are an integral part.
Yeah, I think certainly you need to meet the requirements for minimums, but in a property like this, having additional capacity seems advisable.
No, that's the plan.
Yeah.
We have to.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna look forward to the site plan a few years from now or whenever it's coming, so I'll save my questions about that when it's before the commission, Mr. Chair. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Alder Commissioner Marshall. Any further questions from committee regarding this item? And I'd like to recognize Vice Chair Morrison, who's joined us this evening. Thank you. Again, any questions from committee? Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And I'm happy to tour anybody who wants to come.
Thank you. I may take you up on that.
We have New Haven's best kosher pizza.
Okay. I'm wondering, let me just ask committee, do we need to take 10 or should we go right to the public hearing? How's everyone feeling?
Let's do it.
Okay. So we'll work, thank you, we'll work from the list. I guess I'll have to hold on. Committee. Yes, you call their names. And, oh, is she there?
Are you there?
Okay, we will take our person online first. Is that the person that's here or no?
No.
Okay. Oh, Beverly Kinder, right. So, Ms. Kinder, if you would give us your name and address for the record, and then you have the floor. Are you preferring not to come on camera? If that's the case, then that's fine. Just asking. And you're on mute, so you'll have to unmute yourself so you can speak with us. Okay, so what we're going to do to expedite time, we'll call, oh, there you are? Okay.
I am, yeah.
Great, wonderful. Thank you for being here this evening with us through this method. Would you give us your name and address for the record?
Yes, and let me correct you. It's Beverly Kidder, not Kinder, Kidder. And I live in New Haven for the last 80 years plus. And I live at 355 Central Avenue in New Haven.
Thank you. You have the floor.
Thank you so much. And I'm going to refer to my notes, so that's probably why you couldn't see me. So I thank you so much for the opportunity to speak with you about the Towers project. As I said, I am Dr. Beverly Kidder. I'm the Vice President of the Agency on Aging of South Central Connecticut. And I have 3 points I would like to make with you. One is, and it's because adding more affordable, accessible housing units within New Haven is essential. And I believe it's essential for 3 reasons. It can help address homelessness, it can decrease the risk of social isolation, and it can decrease the risk of trauma-induced illnesses. So the homeless situation among older adults in Connecticut is the fastest growing sector of the homeless population. And it's driven by the soaring rents and the fixed incomes and the lack of affordable housing available for people. Older adults have been identified as the group in 1924, the group experiencing homelessness at a greater rate than anybody else. Many people are experiencing homelessness for the first time in this older adult population. This is very different than the picture that one would have you believe, that homelessness is only people with substance abuse problems and behavioral and emotional problems who have been homeless most of their life or in difficult situations. This is not an accurate picture of homelessness in general, but specifically in older adults. We don't find very many older adults who fit into that category. They are people who are homeless because they can't afford housing, particularly in New Haven. So in New Haven, as early as early 1925, there was a good study done, and it looked at, we had 630 verified individuals living in shelters in New Haven. And that was twice as many as there were in 2024. So, and there is no sign that that demographic is about to take a downward toll. The directors reported that the group that had the greatest increase were older adults, and that they currently are occupying 33% of the shelter's beds in New Haven. So that image of, who's in the beds, change your mind a little bit and picture older men, older women, worked all their life, not with substance abuse, not with mental health. These individuals don't normally have a life that took them through that kind of a pathway. And so the impact of homelessness on older adults is felt to be much stronger than it is on younger people. And those numbers only include, or excuse me, fail to include the number of older adults who are couch surfing. Those individuals who, due to economic inability to afford housing, have found themselves staying at someone else's house, sharing someone's house, contributing what they can, but not having their own space in the house, just being someone is helping them out, a favor. And interestingly, I think the primary reason that this happens, and the group that it happens to most, are women, older women who have been widowed, and upon the death of their husband, they lose access to the pension, thereby cutting their income by more than 50% overnight. So the house that they were in, the apartment they were occupying, the home that they owned, whatever, with a 50% cut in income, they no longer are able to afford their own home. And this is at late stages in life. In New Haven, or I should say in Connecticut, we have a statewide poverty rate, of 8%. In New Haven, the poverty rate, according to the U.S. Census Bureau, is 25%, more than 3 times. So the individuals who live in New Haven, who lose their income, have a triple difficulty in affording new housing, any housing. The food insecurity rate statewide is 12%. In New Haven, it's 24%. And that comes from the Department of Agriculture's latest report on food insecurity. So what are the options for these people? Well, subsidized senior housing is a terrific option. But sadly, the availability of units currently fail to meet the demand. And then they don't fail to meet it by a few months that you have to go on a waiting list. We're talking about years before a bed becomes available. And I think Jesse Westcott mentioned that in that period of waiting time, we find so many of those people end up being institutionalized. Their turn to get housing just doesn't happen. Individuals are eligible to apply for housing in other towns than their hometown, but at what cost? Relocating to another town due to financial constraints. Unlike, oh, I think I want to retire to Florida, but people who, because they can't afford their housing and have to move someplace where it was cheaper, have profound negative impacts on their life. And as a result of that major life disruption, it affects their physical health, their emotional well-being, and their social connections. This type of forced or involuntary move to another town, it actually has a diagnostic category for it called relocation stress syndrome. It's a trauma that happens as a result of an undesired transfer. Even though the person may participate in the process, they're doing it because they have no other options. It's, you know, which door does the tiger come out? There's no winning way for individuals. And what happens, the symptoms that occur as a result of this type of transfer trauma is anxiety, confusion, depression. These are 4 things that you do not want to increase in older adults, where the just act of normal aging puts people at greater risk for these things in the first place.
I tremendously appreciate your testimony, and this information is extraordinary. But unfortunately, we've gone past the allotted time for public testimony. But I would ask if you would perhaps wrap up your testimony, because we do want to give you space to testify and be respectful of all that you
Absolutely.
prepared for.
I totally appreciate that.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
What would you summarize what you want us to hear?
I only had one more sentence.
Okay, thank you.
Older adults who spend their lives living in New Haven all their life and contributing to the fabric of life of our community should have accessible, affordable housing available to them, so they don't need to relocate to other parts of the state or other states in our country.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions from the committee for Dr. Kidder? Seeing none, thank you so much for your testimony. Have a good evening.
My absolute pleasure. Thank you so much.
Our next person to testify, Stephen Raven. And then after Mr. Raven would be Ellen DeWolf.
Yes.
Great.
Thank you very much for hearing us.
Thank you for coming this evening. If you would give us
I'll try to be very succinct.
Great.
I am an 85-year-old.
Would you give us your name and address?
Stephen Raven, R-A-B as in Bravo, I-N, 18 Tower Lane.
Welcome, thank you.
I'm a 85-year-old Army veteran who lives purely on Social Security at Tower Lane, at the towers. What is most important for me to communicate is that at this stage in this final phase of my life, I was looking for something that would be reasonable and somewhat pleasant. I have lucked out with Tower Lane because it has enabled me to have a meaningful, purposeful, remaining part of my life. I am a volunteer. I have several different volunteer positions. I have a purpose which is one of the things you need to have to continue your life. I continue to learn, so cognition is critical. I live with 300 plus wonderful, interesting people. It's their neighbors. I grew up in a neighborhood, walking distance from the Bronx Zoo. I don't use the term diversity because we just lived it. It was. We were not looking for special labels. But the Towers is incredibly diverse in the range of people, the range of experiences they represent in their latter part of their life. And finally, for me, I've had 20 years of a unique form of multiple sclerosis. Being at the Towers, starting with a cane, then a walker, then a rollator, and now an electronic wheelchair, has been seamless allowance for me to continue doing what I enjoy doing at this part of my life. So thank you very much for listening to me, but you'll be listening to more important people as well. Thanks again.
Thank you for your testimony, for coming out this evening. Are there any questions from committee?
Mr. Chair, I just have a comment.
Okay,
I just want to say thank you for serving our country and protecting our freedoms.
thank you.
That is one of the key things, freedom, voting. And that's what being a responsible citizen is all about.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you for coming out.
Again, appreciate it.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Welcome.
Oh, dear.
You're fine. Would you give us your name and address for the record?
My name is Ellen Duboff. I live at 18 Tower Lane. When I retired from teaching in 2014, I knew that I wanted to move to the New Haven area, closer to my partner and my children. And we started looking around at some places, and it wasn't until I got to the Towers that I started getting the feeling that it seemed right. Even we went on a tour, we met the people, some of the residents, and it was more like going to a family reunion than walking into a cold apartment building. And it was very similar to the way I grew up, and so it felt very comforting. It's a wonderful place. I get my PT there, I get my OT on site. As I transition into needing more assistance, that's available to me again without having to relocate. And that was very important to me. So, as Steve said, I also am very active there. I volunteer, I run some programs, and it's just a big community, and it doesn't feel like people are separated. What we feel is that we're closer together, and the age difference doesn't even matter. If you're sitting with someone who's 95, it's just as comfortable as sitting with someone who's 65. It's just a wonderful place to be, and we hope we can extend that to other people, give them that opportunity.
Thank you. Are there any questions from the committee? Seeing none, we thank you for your testimony this evening. Have a great evening. So far, it sounds like people are in favor of this map amendment, giving the developer the ability to build Tower 3. Is that what we're doing tonight?
Jacqueline McGraw,
Followed by,
followed by, hold on, let me put my glasses on. Holly Gomez.
could you get fix the look? Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Edwin. Good evening.
Good evening.
Would you give us your name and address for the record?
Yes, I'm Jacqueline McGraw, and I live at the Towers at 18 Tower Lane, Tower 1. I've been there for a little over 2 years. I'm very happy. I was out of state and I moved back to Connecticut where I've lived most of my life, and very, very happy there. I taught here, school here in New Haven, and like I said, very happy to be back. The residents, I'm going to talk about the residents. They come from all various states and various backgrounds, and it's very interesting interacting with some of them. There's a lot of activities that I'm involved in, and I'm just happy to be back and to be at the towers.
Thank you. Any questions from committee? Seeing none, thank you for your testimony.
Thank you.
Have a great evening. Good evening, welcome.
Thank you.
Could you give us your name and address for the record?
My name is Holly Gomez. I live at 1343 Maiden Avenue in Southington, Connecticut, 0649.
Would you just pull that microphone right in front of you?
Sure.
Perfect.
All right. I wrote down my notes, some things I wanted to say. I had never heard about the towers before, and so a friend of mine suggested I put an application for my father-in-law. His name is Emmanuel Gomez. At that time, our dad lived alone in an apartment community in New Haven. He wasn't at the point of being placed into a nursing facility. When I toured the towers, I was most impressed by its physical surroundings, its infrastructure, its cleanliness, the social and welcoming atmosphere, safety and accessibility, activities, support, dining, the organization itself. I was very pleased. So the application process was very informative. I was given a full understanding through the entire process. If I had any questions or concerns, I could reach out to the staff, who in turn returned my calls in a timely manner. Our dad's apartment is well matched to his needs and is comfortable and safe. Since our dad has lived at the towers, we don't have to worry about him as much. If there's an emergency of any kind or situation with him that needs attention, security or the staff will contact us immediately. If there's a major concern, the residential staff will meet with the family to discuss future options while focusing on physical and mental needs to determine transition to a higher level of care. I appreciate and have the utmost respect for the entire tower organization, staff, security, maintenance. The staff is well acquainted with its residents. We can contact any part of this organization if we need help concerning our dad. And it's very important to us. He lives in a safe environment. The Towers maintains an exceptional quality of services, safety, and living for its residents' well-being. And the Towers is not just another place to live. It's a place to thrive. It's a community. And I really appreciate them. So I'm very happy that he's there. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your testimony. Anyone have any questions? Seeing none, thank you once again. Have a good evening.
You too. Thank you.
Is there anyone else who has not testified who would like to testify on this item?
Hi, everyone.
Good
I'm
evening.
Lina Silverman. I live at 25 Woodside Terrace. I was the former alderman in the 25th Ward before Adam. It's a pleasure to be here again. I had written testimony, but you've heard everything that I was writing. So I just want to add that one thing I haven't heard said is how beautiful a space the Towers is. We just went through an almost $12 million renovation. It rivals any of the very expensive assisted living places around New Haven. And so I encourage you to come down and have some lunch. So be in touch with Gus, or stop in. We'd love to give you a tour. It is an amazing space. The other thing I would say is just that personally, my mom and many relatives, but particularly my mom, who's the closest with obviously, it took her a year to get into the Towers. And that was an awful, awful year for her and for me. So the idea that we're going to be able to serve more people more immediately and that the waiting list is absurdly long right now, is a great blessing. So I encourage you to vote for the zoning change, which is necessary to our going forward. This has been a project. I'm also the president, the volunteer president of the board. I'm the chairman of the board. And this has been a project that we've been talking about for 3 years with a great deal of time and effort devoted to it. So I certainly hope that you'll come and see Tower 1 and Tower East today, and in a few years that you will come see a new Tower 3. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions from committee? Seeing none, thank you for your testimony. I'll ask if there's anyone else wishing to testify on this item this evening. Anyone from the public wishing to testify on this item? And for the third time, anyone from the public wishing to testify on this item? Seeing none, is there a motion?
Mr. Chair, I make a motion that we close the public portion.
Second.
Having been moved and seconded, discussion on closing the public portion of the meeting. Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstaining? We are now closed. The public portion is closed. Is there a motion? Vice President, Vice Chair?
Vice.
You are the Vice President.
Yes. Mr. Chair, I make a motion. I make a motion to move item 2. Oh, I'm sorry. When I came in, they said.
We're on item 2,
we
yeah.
did everything, okay. So, Mr. Chair, I make a motion to move item 2.
Item
Second.
1, I keep
Item
saying
1.
2, because the testimonies were short. Item 1.
Second.
Been moved and seconded on item 1. Is there any discussion? Alderman Marchand.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm speaking in favor of item 1, which would rezone those properties on Quinnipiac Avenue from RS1 to RN1. As was reported in our discussion and in our packets, the City Plan Commission did render a favorable recommendation. One of the reasons why I was supportive then and I'm supportive now is that it is an extension of a zone that is just to the south of these properties and seems to fit in with the overall context. And I think based on its location, creating the possibility of a future development that would be a little bit more dense than what is allowed in RS1 makes sense. And having the additional units is also in accord with our comp plan, Vision 2034, and the need for housing. So I encourage colleagues to vote yes on the motion to give this a favorable recommendation. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Alderman Marchand. Is there any further discussion on this item? I am also in favor. I won't recap what was said. I am also in favor of giving this a favorable recommendation to the board. Is there another? Oh, no. All in favor of giving this a favorable recommendation to the board, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining? The item passes with a favorable recommendation. Is there a motion?
Yes, Mr. Chair, I make a motion for item 2. Right?
Second.
Yep. Have been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on item 2?
Mr.
Alderman Marchand. Alder
Chair. See?
All you.
All the M's. Mr. Chair, I am in great support of this item. The towers, they are an amazing senior complex. I wish they were coming to build 2 more towers, Tower 3 and 4, because they definitely add life on the senior residents that live there. My mom lives there, and she is the happiest 81-year-old that wears 6-inch heels every day, because that's Miss Petty, right? And so I know it's the towers that's doing this. And so to be able to build and have more units and have more of our seniors and our parents be able to go into such a beautiful space, and a space that the seniors are number one priority. I am 1000% in support of this zone change because it's needed. It's really needed. And I think all seniors should have the opportunity to experience what they provide over at the top, because every senior home is not able to do that. But this senior home has shown that the number one priority are each and every one of their seniors, and to make sure that the last chapters of their lives is gone out in style. So thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Vice Chair Morrison. Alder Marchand.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm speaking in favor, in support of a favorable recommendation. As was mentioned in the discussion and was shown in the packet, the City Plan Commission gave a favorable recommendation to this body on this item. This is another case where the zone that's being remapped in the subject parcels is right next to this property, right? So it's not like an orphan patch of zone that doesn't have any other similarly zoned properties nearby. It is a zone that allows for density. BD3 is a pretty dense zone. But this is a part of downtown. It's in this area, which currently isn't densely developed because of some very large vacant parcels, will be looking very different in the near future. So having really wonderful facility for people who are senior citizens and others in close proximity to other dense residential developments, I think will be a good thing. It's also very close to all of our major transit infrastructure, right? The highways, the train stations. So for people who are visiting family members from other places in the future, when other developments are realized, it'll be actually a very attractive and safe walk from Union Station to the tower's property. There's a lot that commends this. I'm heartened to hear that the plan is to provide more than the minimum required parking. The parking requirements are low because of the B3 zone, but also because of the inclusionary zone overlay that affects the new property that's being planned. So they wouldn't have to provide as much as they could, but I think they should, given the number of visitors coming to that location. Although let's hope they all take the train and don't have to drive. But I think the conclusion I reached at the City Plan Commission and here is that this zoning change is very much in accord with the goals set forth in the Vision 2034 comprehensive plan and the neighborhood plans that we have for that part of town as well. And so I'm happy to lend my voice to supporting a favorable recommendation. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Alder Marchand. Any further discussion? Alder Marks.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Make it brief. I too am in full support, and I thank you for all of the exuberant testimony. I just want to further articulate along the lines that Alder Marchand was saying, was just how exciting the entire region is. I think in companion to this was what we heard at our last legislation committee, which was the change of the zoning of the area between here and the train station for the Church Street South redevelopment, that a very exciting redevelopment. We asked of those presenters how they were collaborating with you, and we've heard from you how you're collaborating with them, and just very exciting to see the collaboration, the development, this symbiosis between these two developments. I'm particularly excited to see on page 21 your oasis of green, the public spaces being envisioned all the way from the train station through the towers. So with hearty support. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Alder Marks. I'm going to go this way, and then because this is in your ward, right?
Yes, sir.
So we'll have, so Alder E. Rodriguez.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I too am in support of the rezoning of towers. There's a lot of greatness here. We have two towers that are really producing a lot of wonderfulness for the people that are there, but this is going to increase more affordable housing. It's going to allow more open spaces where community can get more engaged with the elderly and the disabled and many of the individuals that are there. It's also going to allow for more amenities that also community would be able to benefit from. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Alder Rodriguez. Alder C. Rodriguez.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I am very excited to support, and I'm in favor of this zone change. I am going to say very honestly that the towers have met with me continuously when they started this conversation on putting in a new building. They didn't shy away from any questions that I had. We went full on ahead and formed a partnership. And that partnership is to see the seniors. I tell you, just like the young lady said, you have to come out there. First time I went out there, I met a gentleman who's 103. And he just guided me through the whole area. It's amazing to see. And no longer, when I go in there, you don't fear going to be 80 and going to be 90, because the conversations that everyone has there, and what I see is the respect from the residents and the caregivers that are there is amazing. When we do have those residents that need more assistance, they now go into the apartments and assist them with what they need, including the health aides that are there. So I am a huge supporter of this project, and happy to see that both Church Street South and the towers have come together as a community to build and have cleanable, walkable spaces for our seniors. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Alder Rodriguez. I'll just say very quickly that I'm also in favor. We as alders, we are the zoning commissioners for the city. Alder Marchand holds two hats or two crowns. He serves as the city plan commissioner and also as a zoning commissioner. And so when we're looking at doing a amendment to our zoning, we're considering whether or not it makes sense with density. We've heard about parking. I always think about our asthma rates as we're building something with this kind of density. How does it fit in our community? Is it in sync with our comprehensive plan? These are all things that we consider as a zoning authority, I should say, zoning authority of the city. And it's not just the words that were said, because we can have any project be built and like the project, but the project may not fit in that location. And so it appears that this does fit in that location. It's a good place, and it's going to serve our city. We did hear questions on the parking, and that was answered. And so if you're coming in from out of town, you probably come in with buses. We don't bus, or we drive here in New Haven. And we're not going to get rid of our cars here anytime soon, it seems like. And so we need parking spaces here. But that was already answered. And so I am also in favor of giving this a favorable recommendation to the board. So with that, we'll take the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining? Okay, this passes, and we'll give this a favorable recommendation to the board. And before we go any further with item number 3, I'm thinking that it might be good, because what we have, we don't have everything that we need.
Yes.
And we need the 2025 state statute that's been updated. And so I'm thinking that maybe, I'm thinking of passing over this item rather than tabling it. That's a little, I like passing over better than tabling. And so we're going to just pass over this item. We're not going to take any action on it. And so there is another motion we must make. Madam Vice President.
Mr.
Vice Chair.
Chair, I make a motion that we, adjourn.
Second.
Has been moved and seconded. Any discussion on adjourning? Seeing none, we are adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, I should take the vote.
Thank you very, very much.
All in favor of adjourning?
Aye.
Any opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you.
You just leave it in committee.
And when do we hear, whenever, see it on the agenda, whenever the chair thinks the material is sufficient? Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Tell my mama I said hi.
Yes.
Thank you.